Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a card for you featuring one of Nook's Designs August releases called Simply Sentimental, and it features some scripty large sentiments and then some smaller printed sentiments that will work together. And I want to create a mini card set, so I'm going to be creating a large piece of background paper and then cutting it into smaller sections to use on the mini cards. And I'm using 110-pound Georgia-Pacific cardstock. You could use any cardstock for this, but I would suggest something a little bit thicker just because you're going to be putting a lot of ink on it. So to create a background, I'm just blending some distress ink onto the cardstock in random patterns, but leaving room so that way there's a little bit of each color around the entire panel. So I started with Peacock feathers, which is the blue color. And then I moved on to Picked Raspberry, which is the pink color, and last I'll be adding the Seedless Preserves, which is the purple. These distress inks blend really well together, and I wanted to keep the color palette simple and consistent, so the pink and the blue, when they do blend, will only create a different kind of purple color, so it works well. And after I finish adding the purple in, I want to make sure there's no white spots left, so I'm going to go back with the pink and the blue to just fill in any areas and gaps that might be there. You can see that in order to keep my distress blending foams with my distress inks, I've added a little Velcro to the bottom of each distress ink pad, and I just attached the strip to the blending foam to the bottom of the ink pads. And that way it keeps it nice and organized. Also, distress inks are water soluble, so if you put a little bit of water on them, then it's going to remove color, and I'm going to show you how you can use that to add a little bit of interest to this card in just a minute. I just want to let you know you are going to get a little bit messy with this technique, so you might want to keep a baby wipe on hand. So you see here I'm adding a little bit of water, and you see those droplets start kind of pulling the ink out. And so I just took my spritzer and opened it up, and I'm just kind of flicking little water droplets. You could also put a little water in your hand and drop some droplets onto the paper, and it just adds a little bit more interest to this background pattern paper that we are creating. And like I said, I'm creating a mini card set, so I want to cut a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock down into 4 equal parts, so they'll wind up being 4 1/4 by 5.5, and then I'll fold those in half to make the mini cards. With the distress ink panel, I'm cutting those panels to 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, and I'm just thinking about what way of cutting it will allow me to get all the colors that I like, because I will have some extra room, and so I can kind of choose what I want to keep and what I want to discard. And once I have all those panels cut, I did leave a little bit of extra room between that panel and the card base, because I thought that a border of black would really help those colors to pop. So here you see I'm trimming some black cardstock to 4 by 2.5. Any black cardstock will do. There's nothing unique about that. And so now I'm going to think about how I want to add the sentiments. I want to use all the large sentiments. There's 4, which is why I chose to make 4 cards. And I want to kind of feature those scripty fonts, because I think that the font is really beautiful. I believe it's Jennifer Jackson's handwriting, and she's the owner of Newton's Nook and creates all these adorable illustrations. And so I want to feature those stamps, and so I'm placing them on my blocks. You can see that I can fit 2 on each block by simply flipping it over, and I save some time by putting 2 stamps on one block and cleaning everything at the end. And I'm trying to go quick with these, because that's kind of like the whole thing with creating these mini cards, is you just have a couple of quick cards on hand to use whenever you need. And so I stamped with Archival jet black ink from Ranger. I like this ink for sentiments because it's nice and crisp, but unlike VersaFine, it doesn't take very long to dry, and so I know it will work well, and I won't have to worry about it smearing, because I'm not quite clumsy, but I just have a tendency to smear things if I'm not careful. And I have enough trouble with distress ink as it is, because it's quite, it's quite messy. And so I'm thinking about which sentiments work well. There's a lot of choices with this stamp set, and that's what I love about it, is you can really personalize your card and make a card for almost any occasion. The congrats have things like congrats on your retirement, congrats on babies, but I want to keep this simple, a card that I can use for pretty much everyone. So I went with the congrats you did it, the happy birthday, And with the heartfelt, I'm going to go with heartfelt thanks, but they also have heartfelt wishes or heartfelt thoughts, and so you can keep it even more general, but I know thank you cards are very useful. And as I'm placing these smaller stamps, the printed font, on, I'm just trying to kind of spread them around throughout and fill in that extra space. And a lot of them work work well because you can read it both ways. Thanks a million thanks. And it just kind of creates a fun card, but that's generic enough that I can use it for pretty much any kind of person. And so now I'm just going to mount those panels on the black and onto the white cardstock. And so that's it for my card set today. Thanks for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel. This awesome sentiment set and the other Newton's Nook set hanging around, which features some adorable animals, will be available on August 20th. So head on over to newtonsnookdesigns.com to check that out. And thanks for watching.